Welcome to the Echo Essentials podcast.
I'm Dave Dale.
And I'm Chris Bakarski. And today we have a great show with you from Geoff Richardson from Good Riddance. We're talking about pest control, bugs, rodents, all kinds of things. We're going to talk about some preventative measures. Really good show for you today. Before we get to that, we want to thank and introduce our title sponsor, the North Bay Regional Health Center Foundation.
Imagine the power behind your generosity, month after month. When you join the I Give Monthly Club, your support helps provide state-of-the-art medical equipment and essential care for our community. Every month, your gift, big or small, adds up to something powerful, ensuring our local hospital has the tools it needs to provide exceptional care for our friends and loved ones. Join over 220 generous monthly donors who are already making a life-changing impact. From essential equipment like MRI machines to life-saving cancer care, your commitment, month after month, helps transform lives. Signing up is easy. Visit nbrhcfoundation.ca to join. Your monthly gift helps ensure our community's healthcare stays strong and accessible all year round.
All right, Dave, we're out of election season. We're moving on.
We're talking about a different kind of pest today.
We're talking about different. So, I mean, I didn't mean to do it that way, but it's funny that we did.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
But yeah, in today's episode, we have Geoff Richardson coming in from Good Riddance. Really good dude, really well spoken. He definitely knows his stuff. And we brought him in today because, well, one, we wanted a palate cleanser. We had a lot of election stuff. We have more stuff coming up. And we're going to talk a bit about some of that election stuff after this. But it was nice to kind of have him come in and talk about the change of season, right? In terms of you're opening up, your patio, the snow is all melted, thankfully. You might be looking at your cottage. What does pests look like in terms of going into that season, right?
Yeah, and the variety of pests that you have to consider in this area of geography of the world, and the ones that are inside the house and outside the house, and different concerns, and you were squirming the whole time.
I was. So I make a light reference that if you're unsettled by creepy crawlies, this is not for you. Jokes or not, it does get a little real sometimes, and I talk about my personal experience and how uncomfortable that is and how difficult that is. But again, I mentioned it in the episode. I saw a lot of comfort and therapy in this. So for me, it was great because I was like, okay, cool. I feel seen. Oh, I should have done this instead. And so for that, it was fantastic.
My eyebrow lice were active during the whole conversation.
Oh, stop. What's funny is that, even though we are fine and my situation is years resolved, I can't help but itch and scratch when I talk about this because it brings out that anxious part of you, right? Yeah. And it just makes you be like, oh man, what's going on? I'm just uncomfortable. And maybe that's just me.
There's a point there Geoff was talking about, how traumatizing it is, and it's very emotional, and he was being very genuine. And I look over and I see you scratching yourself, and I was laughing. So he's talking about this poignant moment in this topic, and I'm looking at him smiling. He was trying to figure out why.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, I appreciated that, and he was very considerate. He kept not trying to rehash old trauma from me, but for a lot of people, it is traumatizing and it is unfortunate. And at the very least, if it's not personal, it could be financial, right? And so for this, such a really important topic. There's no current story about it now, but it's not a story until it is one. Mm-hmm. And we don't ever want it to be one. We never talked about murder hornets, but obviously that's a 2024 thing. But every now and then, pests do come into this way in the news cycle and talks about, beats and what happens when it gets really bad. And so today we talk a bit about, preventative measures, reactive measures, really good stuff in terms of dealing with pests in North Bay in the area.
We forgot to mention and talk about sometimes the source is people coming back from vacation.
Yes.
Right? And so they're in a place where they can pick up bed bugs or anything else. Yep. And they should heat treat with even their high setting on their dryer, their clothes before they throw them into their laundry pile.
Yeah, it's important for us to note that too. And there's a lot of really good, helpful tips in there, but we really want to mention that one, is that if you're going through travel, is to always wash your stuff on high heat, dry it on high heat when you get back. That is by far and large one of the best preventative measures in terms of coming back from a vacation or travel. And Geoff obviously wanted us to mention that. He also wanted us to mention that he was very, transparent that there's a lot of different good outlets out there in terms of the city who they could use. He's obviously speaks from Good Riddance, being a co-owner. He did also want us to mention that a lot of places, maybe not a lot of places, but at very least, Good Riddance says that for a lot of their initial inspections, it does not cost anything. It is a free inspection.
He said free inspection all the time. So,
so that's great. I mean, and this episode isn't meant to, make you uncomfortable, even though it certainly made it for me, even though I was like, let's get him in here. Let's get this done. I met my own demon there, but moving away from those pests, let's talk about some politics.
Yeah.
Because there's a couple things that happened this week, Dave, that we should talk about, even though we had a very in-depth breakdown with Dr. David Tabachnik on our last episode. Thank you, Professor, for coming in. We had some things move and shake since then, right? So the first thing was we talked about Pierre Poilievre potentially seeking a by-election. Well, he did. And not only did he do it, he did it in Alberta. So we were on the beat. We had that right, Dave.
Yeah. Well, pretty clearly he needs a place to land and get back in. And that's obviously a place that the Conservatives think that they can win easily, and they have in the past. So he's taken that easy route.
That smile. It feels like a slam dunk. Just for the record, I believe he's replacing the MP out of Battle River, Crowfoot, Damien, I'm probably getting his last name wrong, Couric. Might have got that wrong.
Couric, I think, is the name. I'm not sure if it's Battle River, though. Can you check that, please, Ben? The riding that Pierre Poilievre is going to...
is seeking by-election for. I thought it was Battle River, Crowfoot, but take a look.
It sounds right. I thought it was another battle something, but it could be Battle River. I don't know. It doesn't matter, really.
Well,
he's in a non-battle in Alberta.
This will not be a fight. And from what I understand, MP Damien...
Although he does have a history of snatching defeat in the jaws of victory. So
who knows? I mean, from what I've been seeing, there's been a push to get a lot of different names on that ballot, which is very, I don't know.
Apropos?
Yeah, very, very much so. But temporarily, I believe Damien will step aside until they figure that out. So there's a temporary fixture there.
Battle River, Crowfoot.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, yeah. It is Battle River.
So speaking of Carney as well, he's super down. He's playing politics. He's playing the game seemingly really well. He is approved by election, from what I understand, to get it kind of going as soon as possible. Is he playing chess here? What's his game?
Oh, no, he's definitely a chess player. He's doing what he needs to do. He seems capable of that high-level repertoire. He can deal with the situation. I think was the right choice for Prime Minister in this situation.
I mean, given the situation, he also just recently, at the time of this recording, he just got off his meeting with U.S. President Donald Trump in Washington. I don't know if you watched it.
Yeah, I did.
It reminded me, and again, I'm inserting my own opinion in politics here, how much I just hate listening to Donald Trump on any kind of long platform, even though it's completely necessary because you have to get the full context. He rambles on so long and he says nothing. And it was about having Carney in Washington. And I believe Carney probably said a total of, I don't know, maybe 100 words.
Well, Trump's, if he has a strategy ever, if he had one,
yeah.
His strategy for that meeting was not to act like a complete a-hole like he did with Zelensky.
Yeah.
That was his goal. As long as he could be not too silly and obtuse, he was going to be achieving that. So he achieved it. He talked nicely. He was agreeable. He acted like he cared.
You're referring to Trump in this particular.
Yeah.
And I would say
now Carney,
PM
on the other
Carney.
hand,
Yeah, I think he
hit it
nailed
out of the park because he wanted to get out of there without provoking like a provocable person and without putting himself too far into a situation. Right now, I would say that I would love to play poker with him though, because he does not have a good poker face.
You can tell whenever he wanted to bring something up. I believe political Instagram was memeing his reactions where he was trying to interject, but he didn't want to do it because the room was chaos.
Yeah, well, he didn't want to forcefully interject because you never know when President Trump is finished his sentences because they don't finish.
And the last thing he tried to interject on was the thing that Trump kind of broke the scrum about was the I want to say it was the 200 million or 200 billion deficit or something, where obviously Carney had something to say about that, and then he broke it essentially without there being any kind of pushback, which felt kind of sour. But I mean, in terms of what Carney was able to say, I thought he did really well.
Both of them, I wanted to get their speaking points out. And obviously, Carney knew that every utterance was going to be magnified by Canadians to judge him, right?
Yeah.
And supporters and those who are still whining about losing to him.
I mean, I kind of grown to like tire of this phrase, but it did really seem like in this situation we kind of had the adult in the room.
Yeah.
And like, you know, it is a little old, but like I think it was very appropriate for what we saw yesterday, because you didn't want to have another Zelensky, you know, interrogation. I wouldn't call it a meeting. It was very much like a one-sided thing. It did seem like Carney did hold his own. And in terms of this Carney, other notes we have to have here before we get to the episode, he's also not, from what I understand, seeking a alliance with the NDP. He seems like he's really trying to, you know, toe the party line here and try to make sure he retains some of those center seats or center.
Well, he only needs 4 people to either not show up to vote or to vote for him, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So he doesn't need to get into some type of deal that's official.
But we should also, exactly. We should also mention too, because came back around to the Conservative part. Andrew Scheer is back in the game. He is currently the interim CPC leader until they figure it out. So for those who don't know, Andrew Scheer ran as the member of opposition, leader of the, I believe he's a member of the opposition, leader of the Conservative Party a couple elections ago, if not one election ago.
Yeah, he's one of the Conservative losses.
Yes. Another one bites the dust. So going from that,
I'm just having fun with you guys because I can tell by the social media posts that people are still a little upset. The gas went up 20 cents as it does every other Tuesday.
Every Tuesday,
and they were blaming it on Carney reestablishing the carbon tax on.
What's gas at now?
Well, it's at 139.
Is it now? I was at $1.20 the other day.
Yeah, it goes like that every 2 weeks.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if anybody.
I do know that.
When the gas is delivered Tuesday morning, the gas goes up that day, and it comes back down by Wednesday or Thursday, depending if there's a long weekend or a special thing like Mother's Day, where people travel. Right. It's corporations that sell oil and refined gasoline that are gouging us. The tax that was gouging us has been taken off.
Fair. A very in-depth banner here, Dave, but we will end on this. First and foremost, I'm not going to get myself in trouble. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers. This is dropping on the Thursday before Mother's Day weekend. So happy Mother's Day. I don't have a better segue. You kind of took the one I had earlier. We talked about biting. I was going to segue that into
Well, I want to ask about your toque and whether it's because you have lice or something.
Okay.
What is with the toque? I didn't get to wear a toque.
You can always wear it too.
No,
okay.
I know.
Okay, so this is ridiculous. I realize how warm it is outside. You're such a pest. Which is a great segue. No, I'm fine for those who are really caring for my well-being. I took a softball off a bat to the head on Saturday this past week, and that hurt, and I'm not going to show it to you. I'm going to keep that for something else.
So you deflected a line drive.
No, I was the pitcher. It came right at me. It didn't hit the ground.
Yeah, you deflected it.
I mean, I guess I did. I guess that's one way of calling it. I think take the shot was another.
Took one for the team. You blocked it from going to the outfield. Did anybody catch it?
It was practice. It didn't even matter. Anyway, let's get away from Dave being a pest into being a conversation about pests. So, again, thank you for all listening today. We have a great episode for you, and we're going to throw it to us earlier with Geoff Richardson. Today, we have an excellent show for you. We have a guest from Good Riddance. We have Geoff Richardson. Geoff, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks for setting the expectation.
Hey, we try. And we're here today to talk a bit about, after what was a pretty intensive election season, we have you in today, Geoff, talk a bit about, that's a horrible segue. I was going to say pests. But we're here to talk a bit about the pest season and what that looks like going from spring into summer. And so before we get into that, can you tell us and our listeners a bit about yourself?
Sure. First of all, our company's called Good Riddance, which is kind of political in a way.
Yeah,
So I
there you
guess
go.
this is a nice segue.
Fair enough.
My name's Geoff Richardson. I've been in pest control since about 2016. So I run the business with my brother Tom. We started off as a Bedbug services company, and then expanded into a full service pest control company in about 2019, I think.
Sorry.
So I've been in North Bay my whole life. I'm 45 years old. Love North Bay to death. And I've seen Dave a lot. I'm involved in basketball. Love my
pests.
city. Yeah. Well, I don't know. Dave's pretty good to me. But no, it's I just love getting involved in my community, and I'm a North Bayite for life.
There you go.
Yeah.
Right on. And it's interesting because this topic for me is especially pertinent because I haven't shared this a whole lot, but years ago I had a bedbug issue, and I
Okay.
know just how much of a pain in the butt that is, and how scary and how uncomfortable that can be.
Yep.
And pests come in all different shapes and sizes.
Yes, they do.
Right. So let's talk a bit about that. It's when we're filming this, we're recording this. It's May 7th, right? Which that came back fast. But it's a change of season, right? In the middle of spring. What are you seeing out there?
It's almost instantaneous. So it's like the first snowfall for a tire shop, right? So everyone wants to get their winter tires on at the same time. So our phone becomes a fire hose, and we do our best to take a big drink from it. So we're really, really managing. We got a great guy, Richard Malloy. He's our coordinator, and we'd be dead without him. His phone is the hottest phone in town. It's ringing all the time. So it's a lot of customer management. We really, really want to make sure that we're attentive to everyone that calls us. It can be overwhelming sometimes, but we're getting a lot of inquiries about exterior pests, especially at this time of year. So
when you say
ants
exterior
and-
pests.
yeah, so ants and spiders, crawling insects in general, hornets, anything that you would consider a pest, like a beetle in the garden, to me is not a pest. Most people don't want pest control where it's not affecting their lives, which is nice. But if you're in your backyard and you can't use your barbecue because of all the webs on it, or if you're spending hours a month sweeping your gables and your doorway of webs, call a professional. Call someone like Good Riddance to be able to come and provide a treatment. It works really, really well. So like I said, we're after exterior crawling insects is pretty much our main gig at this time of year. We do have a lot of monthly customers, like businesses that'll come in or have us come in and take care of like checking rodent traps and monitors and things like that on a monthly basis. And then we do get calls for inspections for bed bugs and cockroaches inside homes. But primarily, I'd say 90% of the volume that we're seeing right now is about exterior pests. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, we say check your website. Pests come in all different again shapes and sizes. You guys list spiders, bed bugs, mice and rodents, ants, hornets, beetles, cockroaches, earwigs, and cluster flies.
Yeah.
I don't know what a cluster fly is.
So if you've ever seen a dopey housefly, that's a cluster fly.
A dopey housefly?
Yeah, so they're really slow moving. You can almost catch them with your hand.
Okay.
And they basically lay eggs in the siding of a house, and sometimes they can permeate into an attic. And they lay their eggs, and there's an egg cycle that hatches. So in the spring and the fall, you'll often see in rural properties, especially, hundreds and hundreds of cluster flies inside and outside people's homes. And oftentimes they're around window frames, which is where they'll nest and lay eggs as well as attics. And they can, there's holes in every house. There's no way to make a house 100% enveloped, and free of any entry points. So we just deal with the issues when they're there. And our chemicals, so the difference between a pest control company and like going to Home Depot and getting like that ant out stuff, the spray, the Raid cans are fine. If you're using them properly, the VOCs, the particulates, stay in the air for quite some time. So educate yourself in terms of if you're spraying something inside, that chemical can often stay in the air for hours and hours if you're not careful. With our chemical, it leaves a residual. It's designed to dissipate fairly quickly. When we do an interior spray, it's about 3 to 4 hours, depending on the chemical, to dissipate before you can walk in there safely. We always wear masks, full PPE. But the stuff on the shelf will only kill what it touches, whereas ours will kill what it touches, but it also leaves a residual that lasts for it's basically 2 to 3 months of residual chemical coverage anywhere we spray it. So if a spider crosses that threshold, or an ant crosses that threshold, or a silverfish, or an earwig, even months later, it'll die. So it's that constant control. Now, something that powerful does need to be handled by professionals that know, what the Ministry of the Environment expects from us, what a responsible way of spraying is, and knowing the the amount of spray that you need to use, the type of approach, because we never do pest control that is unneeded. We never like overdo it, like, oh yeah, let's spray it extra so it's good. It's like, actually, a lot of chemicals won't work properly if you overspray them because they kill everything instead of leave a residual. So anyway, it's a little complicated in terms of the way that things work, but chemicals are very, very complex, and you can cause a lot of damage, especially to aquatic life, bees, birds, if you're not careful. So we really train our guys, and we're under the mandate of the Ministry of the Environment, as well as a bunch of pest control councils and organizations, and we go through a lot of training, and we really do take it seriously. So we always just provide just enough pest control, never too much.
I think shadflies get all the glory here in North Bay, but
They do.
we're really the spider capital.
Yeah, I mean, there's some fat spiders out there. To be honest with you, there's
a
big
variety,
old butt
right?
spiders. Yeah, there are. Now, in terms of identifying each specific type, I know what a wolf spider looks like. Those are very rare. I know what a dock spider looks like. Those are also fairly rare to see. But the typical common spider that you see in town, they're everywhere. I'm not sure of their exact name, but they're everywhere, and they damage siding. They poop on your windows. They cause webs everywhere, especially along the lake. So they like the moisture, they like the heat, they like the wind, and it just
they float in from across the lake, really.
Well, they float in from everywhere. So
Yeah.
they'll be on trees, and they'll float from a tree in your yard onto your house.
Oh, yeah.
And ants will crawl up your house. So part of our prevention is creating a barrier around the foundation of the house to stop anything from crawling up. But also the exterior spider control treatment, we cover every square inch, every crack and crevice on your house to make sure that there's no place for them to create their nests.
What if your pets are licking this stuff up?
So it is a very, very, very low concentration. You can imagine the size of a spider and the weight of a spider. So this is enough chemical to do some damage to a spider. We always advise people when we're spraying in their yard, I'll just focus on that because it's a common question this time of year. If we're spraying in your yard, we ask that people stay out of the yards for about 30 minutes to 45 minutes to allow everything to dissipate in the air and then dry. Once the chemical is dried, even if a pet or anyone were to lick the surface, I guess probably we're talking about dogs, but they wouldn't have any ill effects whatsoever. It's such a low concentration, so we use like a 0.01% of the actual active chemical ingredient. So, for example, there's a mix of maybe 6 milliliters per liter, but out of that 6 milliliters of that concentrated chemical, only a very small percentage, 1%, is actually the active chemical ingredient. The rest is like a suspension agent.
And just for clarity, I did have a nickname by one person who called me the pest.
Just now?
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, obviously.
No, not here, actually.
like
It was in
general.
Cape Raw when I was growing up. Bob Ryan, rest in peace. He was the father of a good friend of mine, and I used to stop by there all the time. And he was a hydro worker, so on shifts, and I was always waking him up. And he called me the pest. That was it. Yeah.
Because you woke him up.
It's true. All the time.
I would have
Pests
thought it
wake
was
people
based
up.
on your op-eds back in the day.
Oh, no, they called me different names for that. But what I did to him was like I'd be coming home from a party. Cape Raw had 3 or 4 bars downtown and party at every house. So I'd 3 in the morning after he got home and shoveled his driveway, I would put a mound in the middle of the driveway for him for him to wake up to. It was so that brought back good memories.
Good.
What I thought was in the spring that you get a lot of calls is maybe it's going to be in another month, but people trying to prepare places for rent because of college students moving out and the transference of bug eggs.
Yeah.
Does that happen in the spring?
I mean, it can. Generally, it happens all year round. We really encourage people to be proactive with their pest control. So even if you don't want to call a professional services company to come in, you can buy sticky insect monitors from any store. So you want to get those and put them basically around pipe runs underneath your kitchen sink, in areas in the corners, like places. So bugs don't usually traverse, or rodents don't usually traverse like in an open space. They'll always kind of take the camouflage route. So you'll be able to identify what kind of bugs you're seeing. So if cockroaches are a common thing that a lot of people don't realize they have until they have a real issue, because they typically feed at night. So they're active during the night. You flick the light on and they scurry, right? That's the idea with those. So we encourage people to proactively control pests if they can, especially with a lot of people coming and going. It depends on the living situation, but in an apartment, in a student housing arena, in a roommate situation, you really want to make sure that people are being mindful of the items that they're bringing in. If there's a known pest issue from somewhere that they're moving from, it's not going to get better if you just move your stuff, because a lot of times, like cockroach eggs and bedbug eggs can travel. They will travel, and they can often be in like electronics. Mattresses are a perfect example. Anyone that's buying a mattress from anyone really needs to absolutely maybe not do that. Anytime that a mattress is outside, it's outside for a reason. You don't know what it's for, but we encourage people, if you're a landlord, if you're someone putting a mattress out, like cut it, make it unusable so that people aren't picking it up, right, and moving it. Mattresses, we see a lot of bedbug activity from. And then general household items, if they're moving from like even storage from one spot to another, sometimes that can introduce cockroach eggs. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's very wise. Also, on the topic of bed bugs, because it just takes a few to really cause an issue. If you have a male and a female, they procreate like rabbits. You want to put all your clothing and all your fabrics through high heat. So high heat actually kills any eggs that are there. Eggs especially have a very low death temperature. So for example, bedbug eggs will die at 122 Fahrenheit, which isn't that much, right? It's about 60 Celsius. Cockroach eggs, same kind of deal. Cockroaches themselves will just run away, right? But we use heat to kill bedbugs because bedbugs are very, very difficult to find because they're very, very excellent at hiding, and they stay in those hiding spots for 99% of their lives, only leaving to come and feed and then go back. So they're very, very difficult to find. We're great at finding them. There's actually dogs out there that can find them. So there's dogs trained on the actual smell of bedbugs, which I've actually smelt, and I know what that smells like. It's a smell I never thought I'd really know. It doesn't smell gross; it's just weird. But to control them,
what's it smell like?
It's almost like a musty, earthy smell.
Yeah,
like a rusty, musty, earthy smell kind of thing. Is that bringing back some memories, Chris?
It's bringing back memories I wish I never had to bring back up again. But it's okay.
Sorry.
We're here today. We're doing this.
Kinda, yeah. Because that's their only food source is us. They will not go after pets. So if we get phone calls sometimes that, I have bed bugs. I think my dog's getting bit. It could actually be fleas. So we take our time. The first step of any pest control is pest identification, because you don't know what you're treating. There's 100 different tools in our toolbox. So you want to go with someone that knows exactly what type of pest you're dealing with and gives you that confidence that they're not just kind of taking a shot in the dark. So you want to make sure that whoever you have there just practices good pest control practices and make sure that they know what kind of pests they're looking at and they don't assume.
I'm going to assume you spent some time at university.
Yep.
Did you ever think you're going to be a
not in a million years? Not in a million years. No. So my brother and I are landlords, and at one time we had 150 units. And the way we got into pest control was we had some pest issues. Right, 150 units, you're going to have pest control issues. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter what the cleanliness level is, the type of tenants you have. You're absolutely going to have some pest control issues. So we called, the national brands to come in, and they'd come in, they'd do their job. Some time would pass, they'd come in again, do their job. Some time would pass again. It was just like a chemical maintenance program almost, which is what I kind of called it. So we were really getting the results that we needed to deliver to our tenants because they're being affected, right? So we decided to start our own heating company, Bedbug Heating Company, which focuses strictly on heat and a mixture of chemicals, which we added later. But heat is the only thing that actually kills bed bugs and eggs properly in one treatment. It is inconvenient because you do have to leave the residence that you're getting a heat treatment done to. But what we do is we set up our heaters in a convection type of a situation. So you can imagine a convection oven, and the airflow makes sure that every part of that, every square inch of that room is at the 140 Fahrenheit. So it goes up to 65 plus Celsius. And then we leave that there for 24 hours. We come in, we move items around. We have heat guns, which tell us exactly what the temperatures are. We have sensors that we leave overnight. We do a chemical treatment prior to. And then after that, every single bed bug, every single egg in that place is absolutely dead. and we're the only bedbug company that guarantees your service. So thermal treatment is the absolute best way to deal with bedbugs specifically.
Summer is almost here, which means all the sports in summer is coming back. That includes baseball, softball, tennis, pickleball, you name it. If you want new gear, you want to get ready for the new season, there's one place to shop, and that's Source for Sports. Take me, for example. I'm playing softball this year. I need to get new gear to get ready for our season, which is just around the corner. I'll go to Paul and our team at Source for Sports and get everything I need, whether it's a new bat, new glove, new softball pants, or more importantly, a pitcher's cage, because when you get hit in the face with a softball, you want to make sure you have something to protect you. They got everything you possibly need and more down at Source for Sports. If you're looking at getting some new gear for all different sports happening this summer, go take a look. Go talk to Source for Sports. Wherever your journey takes you, please make sure to go check out Source for Sports at 1321 Fisher Street so Paul and his team can equip you with everything you need this summer.
Get in and go at North Bay Toyota. From the bold and adventurous RAV4 to the fuel-efficient and stylish Corolla Cross to the powerful and rugged Tacoma, there's a Toyota for everyone. Need extra space for the family? The Highlander, Grand Highlander, and Sienna. Want to go green? Check out Toyota's complete lineup of hybrid vehicles like the Prius, Camry, Crown, all-new Crown Signia, and more. Get in and go at North Bay Toyota. Visit them at 640 McEwen North Bay or toyota.com for details.
So I'm really glad you brought this up because, and again, it's been years. I'm very thankful. It was a nightmare in my own personal experience going through that.
Yeah,
I sympathize with anyone who might be going through that currently, and I recommend anyone to seek out the proper measures. And this is why I talk about proper measures. Is that, and I won't name
all good,
landlord properties. I won't name businesses. That's not my interest. But they never treated it that way, and it didn't go away.
Right.
And it was tough and it sucked.
Yeah.
And essentially I kind of had to jump ship. Yeah. I had to toss all my stuff in garbage bags.
Yep.
Throw it on high heat. I had to throw away essentially anything that was material. I had to hyper Lysol and clean anything that could have had a crevice.
Yep.
I left it basically outside all winter. And I just prayed basically because they didn't do the heat treatment.
No.
Right.
We see like honestly, bedbugs I would say are probably the absolute worst pests that you can have, especially if they're not being treated effectively, because they interrupt you when you're at your most vulnerable. So they will actually feed on you at night. They're nocturnal, just like cockroaches are. So they're like little nighttime vampire mosquitoes. And they're awful because you don't know where they're coming from. You wake up, you might see one or two. You have welts. You don't know what's going on. And then, like if you're in a landlord-tenant situation, you call your landlord for pest control. There's a variety of different types of landlords out there for sure. We're never sometimes we are the first call from landlords that we have relationships with, but we're never the first call in all cases. We're always the last call for bedbugs. So people call us and we're able to actually deal with the situation. We guarantee it. And if for some reason the first treatment is effective, we troubleshoot, like why, is the tenant maybe wearing a jacket with like a bunch of eggs on the collar? Like, I'm sorry, but
no, it's fine.
And we've seen those situations where people are actually leaving and then they're reinfesting their place over time, right? So, but we do follow up inspections to make sure. But our company is 100% dedicated to eradicating bed bugs in the situation that we're paid for. It is an expensive treatment to do it that way, but it's actually
I was going to ask you how much.
It depends. Like an average one-bedroom apartment with now clutter is a big factor. So if someone is in a hoarding situation or they have way too much stuff, it's hard for the heat to permeate every single square inch. So we ask for a lot of help and preparation. So we ask a bit of the tenant, but certainly for chemical treatments, it's the preparation is nowhere near as arduous as it is for thermal. But for a one-bedroom apartment, regular size, probably about $800. You have to leave for about a day or two. But once that's done, it's finished. A chemical treatment program is and I won't say, chemicals can work against bed bugs if you manage it very, very properly and succinctly. So the egg cycle of a bed bug is 2 weeks, right? So a bed bug will lay eggs, 2 weeks later it hatches. So there's a chemical cycle. You spray, you try and get all the adults that you can by making sure you're investigating properly, finding out where the source is based on your inspection. They're very messy bugs as well. They'll leave like ink stains everywhere. It looks like pepper, but it's permanent. But essentially, we want to make sure that you're dousing the proper areas with chemicals with that residual, so we'll continue to work. But if you don't return 2 weeks later, those eggs are actually impervious to chemicals. So chemicals won't kill eggs. So you have to wait till they hatch. That's why they need to come back again to spray. So you have to be out of your apartment for 3 to 4 to 6 hours. Actually, there's a chemical out there that does work okay on eggs. It's called Tempered. So you have to be out of the house for 6 hours, spray it. But then it requires a really, really arduous follow-up to make sure that you've got the problem licked. And in larger infestations, like if you're seeing dozens of bugs, it's very, very, very challenging with chemicals. Very challenging.
Now, apartment number 101 might get cleaned, but the rest of the building isn't. So what do you do?
That's a challenge because it's almost like being on an island in the middle of a lake, right? You're dry, but eventually it'll get wet. And so what we do is we do what's called T-block inspections. So we do this as there's a couple buildings in town, large buildings in town that have us come by twice a year to do proactive bedbug inspections. So we will literally go in every single apartment that they have. We take apart the mattress, take apart the box spring. We look for any signs of anything regarding bedbug activity, and we clear the unit. Bam. So we'll do like 100 units in a building twice a year, which is a great investment because we can catch those things before they become real issues. But in a situation where we're in a reactive state, we have to do a T-block inspection. So the affected unit is identified as bedbugs, but that doesn't actually mean that that's the source of the problem, like you said. They could have an active issue and the tenant is complaining to the landlord, whereas you're living next door to a tenant that may be embarrassed. Maybe they have some shame about it. Maybe they're hopeless. Maybe they don't want their landlord to be mad at them. But the fact is that pest control is a landlord's responsibility, full stop. You have to be able to work with your tenant to be able to fix this issue because bedbugs and cockroaches especially will spread to neighboring units and cause an even bigger issue. So when it comes to bedbugs and cockroaches, don't handle it yourself. Call a professional. They'll do a proper inspection protocol. So you check basically your next door neighbor, above, below, across, everywhere, just to really figure out where this plume of infestation is and figure out the best way to do it. We were in a building once where they were actually crawling up the plumbing access holes. So we had to take off the backing of the bathtubs. We saw evidence around the backing of the bathtubs. We threw heat down there. We threw chemicals down there and got everything up to that temperature, and they didn't have a problem again. But it took that extra step of investigation to make sure that we were thorough. Because if that blind spot is missed, if we do the best chemical treatment in the world, we get it to 140 Fahrenheit, perfect treatment, bam, this thing's bedbug free. No matter what we do, in a month or so, you're going to get bedbugs back because bedbugs can travel 100 feet per night if they want to. They can travel through, and I know I'm re-traumatizing you. I apologize, Chris, but it's good information. You really don't want to joke around. It's not just something you can like squirt some radon and be done with.
No, I think that's really good point, Geoff. And like I sit here squirming, no pun intended.
Most
but,
people
like,
are probably.
When you've been through it, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Like I'm not, squirmish to like bugs. I don't really care. But when you go through it, like that all that is like very familiar.
Yeah.
And it's tough and we talk a bit about like reporting pests and reporting, the health issues, right? Like I think that, and again, I'm maybe paraphrasing here, but you can maybe clarify this for me. They don't pose a threat to personal health.
That's right.
Because they don't carry or harbor any diseases.
You're exactly right.
And their bites don't hurt you. I'm talking about bed bugs, right?
Yep.
The bites don't physically hurt you the same way maybe a bigger beetle or something like a sting would.
Yep.
And so when it comes to reporting it to a health unit or something like that, there's little that can kind of be done because it's not, giving anything or transferring any kind of diseases, right? It's more like a mental health issue.
Yeah, and a property standards issue.
That too.
So pest activity is a property standards issue, not a health issue in terms of bed bugs and cockroaches. They don't carry disease, so they're not considered. Like, if you had malaria-laden mosquitoes biting you, that's a different issue, right? But bed bugs and cockroaches are not disease carriers. So it boils down to property standards. And oftentimes, we'll work with the city. I'm sure other pest control companies have worked with the city as well, where we'll be called in to do inspections and provide some treatment. Whether we're invited there by the landlord or not, in some cases, it's a property standards thing that needs to be fixed and has been pushed to a certain point, and we come in there and we'll provide them, with a letter with some sort of assurance of treatment, et cetera. But it's that last step. We hope that landlords and tenants can work together to figure out these problems because it's in the landlord's best interests. You want happy tenants, you want a property that's in good repair, and you don't want this problem spreading. I know the demand is extremely, insanely high for for tenants in terms of like finding a place to live, but that shouldn't be an excuse for a landlord to slough off on that sort of thing. Like we really need to hold landlords accountable that are just kind of like just doing the bare minimum or what they're trying to do. I mean, go ahead and try it yourself. Absolutely. Like I'm all for that. I'm a do-it-yourselfer too. It's kind of why we got into the bedbug business, because we wanted to do it ourselves and fix a problem. So I get that, right? But if you've had no success, like don't ignore it. That's the worst thing you can do. Bedbugs and cockroaches love ignorance. It's bliss to them, and they love. They cause bedbugs. I can't tell you how many people have been in tears or are crying. When we get there, but also relief when we leave. And it's weird because. We do offer that guarantee, so we always want to know, hey, is there an issue? We do inspect a couple more times, a few egg cycles, right? Once every 2 weeks for a few inspections. But sometimes we're like, we haven't heard from them. Does that mean that they've given up, or did we solve their problem? And of course, we've solved their problem. But to me, I'm like, I just want to make sure it's all good because of how traumatized they sincerely were when this happened. So my heart goes out to anyone that's dealing with a bedbug issue. And all I can say is just follow those channels that are there for us to get relief.
I was smiling when you were talking about this most sensitive part and emotions.
Yeah.
Because I saw Chris there scratching himself.
Yeah.
I'm getting anxious sitting here.
true.
But I mean, you talk about the therapy part, like I didn't do this for me, for the record. Like I think we're going to talk.
I think you did.
I'm getting some therapy from this, but
that's fine.
I think others can too, right?
And I think so too.
As we transfer into spring and summer, we talk a bit about how that pests look, and like I know from experience, bed bugs operate a bit differently in summer than in winter. So in terms of the transferring into the new season and changing the new season, because we're getting away from bed bugs, I'm going to get off
Yeah, that's fair. Let's transition for sure.
I'm getting itchy and scratchy. What are some things you have to kind of face at the city level, provincial level, in terms of like protections, like as a pest control agency that you find? I mean, you've been doing this for a while. Like, is there any kind of hurdles or any things that have to be changed, or any things that you find that are, you get asked about from, like, I guess the consumer, the client side of things? We're like, okay, well, why can't you take care of this thing, or something like that?
Well, so a good example is, let's say I'm lucky enough to have a boathouse or a structure near a lake. Okay, so pyrethrin is a very popular type of chemical that is used for the control of spiders. Dragnet is a very commonly known chemical in the pest control world. A lot of companies are moving away from it, but it's been like the standard for 20 years. And that is very, very toxic to aquatic life. So you want to make sure that you're not spraying anywhere near that. Also, wind drift is a huge thing. It's very windy on Lakeshore, very windy today. So our guys are trained to make sure that, that spray that's being applied to that structure is hitting that structure and that structure only. If there's a gust of wind and you're not careful, it could take that spray and throw it on a bush somewhere, like maybe 20 feet away from where you're trying to treat. And we absolutely, as an industry, are, told, required, and do control things like that happen. So that's a really, really important thing to note. Fish, aquatic life, very, very sensitive to pyrethrins, which is why we cannot spray close to a lake. We cannot spray close to any kind of a water source. And we must be cognizant of wind drift. There's rules in terms of like the wind velocity in terms of spraying that you can't do. And there is a complaint system. There's if a customer feels maybe something was a little weird, they can call the Ministry of the Environment. And then federally, they'll come in and, they'll audit your business to make sure you're doing things properly. Like even down to like, is your chemical being kept in the proper containers in your chemical room? Is it ventilated properly? Do you have a spill kit? Do you have all the things that you need? Because if a spill happens at a truck and let's say for, just randomly a lid wasn't on, a concentrated 1 gallon container of chemical, which is enough to make, probably 300 gallons of the actual spray, and that falls on the ground and goes into the sewer, you got to make a phone call. You got to control your spray. Well, first of all, you have to make sure your employees are good. So you always take care of yourself. You always make sure, like we have eye wash stations. So like WSIB and making sure our workers are safe is the top priority. So take care of yourself, then take care of the spill next, and then make that phone call to the MOE and basically just get their help to control this potentially environmentally damaging event that has happened. So thankfully we haven't had to do anything like that, but we're always cognizant of it. We spend a whole day in training. It's part of the certification of technicians that they are understanding of that protocol. And us as a company, I mean, there's companies out there, not pest control companies per se, but some companies, they might kind of, cut a corner here or there with employee safety and environmental. We just can't. So that's something that we hold in high regard.
The spider spray that starts with the P, and I'm not going to even try to say it.
Yeah.
When it goes into the water, how long does it is it dangerous for the aquatic life?
It depends on the concentration level, but it's because it's so diluted. What they're after is like, so those chemicals don't dissipate nearly as quickly as other things would. So it's like an accumulation. Right. So year after year, that amount in the lake can rise, right? So it's not like a
so it doesn't break down very fast at all.
I don't think that it does. I haven't
Is it
done
like the forever chemicals we're drinking?
I wouldn't say it's a forever chemical, but I think it's something that really does accumulate, and it's, especially Trout Lake and Nipissing, certainly for some people that draw their water from the lake. Like, you don't want to mess around with that, so you want to really keep those at a minimum. I don't know how long, like what the half-life of pyrethrins are, but I know that they are not allowed anywhere near water, and they can eventually damage aquatic life if not treated carefully, and runoff too. So big rain, if you're spraying a yard and you shouldn't be spraying a yard or something like that, like let's say there's an ant pile in the middle of the yard, there's people that, I have a structural pest control license, which means I can treat any pests associated with a structure, but there's like lawn care companies that can handle like cinch bugs and things like that. They have different licenses and different protocols, but that's like a totally different certification, and you require more knowledge in probably the environmental harms of that. But structurally anyway, you just can't go into the middle of a yard and just spray an anthill for no reason. It has to be associated with the structure.
Do we have many carpenter ants in the city?
We do. They're termites' cousins, actually. Yeah. So we don't have termites, thankfully, in North Bay yet. They're very, very difficult because they bore into wood. Carpenter ants do as well, and you can actually hear them. If you show up, you can hear them crunching. It's almost like chewing cotton balls. I know I made a bunch of people cringe when I said that, but it's like that kind of crunching sound. And the only way there's a 3-prong approach for carpenter ants. First of all, a carpenter ant is about a ½ inch in size, and some are winged. Most of them are in trees. Most of them are on old stumps and stuff like that. So, if someone calls us about a stump in the back of the yard with carpenter ants, it's like, they're supposed to be there. That's nature. But you can help, because carpenter ants love porous wood. That's where they love to make their galleries. That's where they love to carve. They don't eat the wood like termites. Termites eat the wood. Carpenter ants actually just carve out their nests in the wood and then forage from there. So basically, a carpenter ant is about a ½ inch. They're large. They're black. They're shiny. They're very noticeable. Pavement ants are extremely tiny. Those are very easy to treat, but a carpenter ant treatment we use a 3-pronged approach. So what we do is we spray the outside to make sure that there's because they actually create a pheromone trail that's invisible to tell others where they've been, right? So people are just not people, but ants are going to follow that same path into the house. So you basically treat the outside, you treat the inside where the infestation is, and you can tell by what's called frass. So it's like sawdust, like little piles of white powder or brown powder on the ground. That's an indication of carpenter ant activity. And then we actually have a unit that injects a fog into the wall voids. So you can often find those nests, inject the fog, and it kills them instantly. It's the most satisfying thing ever. You'll see hundreds and thousands pouring out of a wall, and you're like, how are there that many insects in this wall? But it's fixed. Sometimes there's like satellite nests that we kind of get called back for here and there because we don't know the lay of the land. We do have to make a small little hole into your wall, like usually by the baseboard, and then just pump that fog in there, and it kills them instantly. And then the residual will handle any that kind of escape that, crawl around. So it really, really just knocks down the population initially and then provides that residual treatment that continues to work after.
How long does it take for a carpenter ant colony to cause damage in your structure?
It depends on where they get in. It depends on the condition of your wood. So if you have a kind of a moisture issue in your house already, it could take usually a season of activity is enough to really soften and rot wood, depending on the situation. So what you want to do to prevent that is you want to basically I have old pieces of wood around my house. I'm sure a lot of people do. You want to remove those away from your house because you're kind of inviting carpenter ants. They like old wood. They like porous wood, like firewood or old, discarded deck boards that they can crawl into. So don't put them right next to your house, because then they're just going to crawl into that house and just search, and like anything can find a way into your house if they want to. But we encourage you to move all the rotted wood out away from there, and that'll kind of decrease the chance that you're going to get carpenter ants. But if you have them, we can deal with them, and again, we do guarantee the service, so we're happy to even provide advice over the phone. We're not one of those companies that won't tell you what you want to know because we want you to hire us. Call us with any questions, and we're happy to help.
So we spent a lot of time on bugs.
Yes.
Rightfully so. I know we have a couple minutes left, so we're just going to get a couple more questions by you.
Sure.
Let's talk about some other different kinds of pests.
Sure.
Difference between like a wildlife and like a rodent or a different kind of pest. And I'm asking from, like a family friend who asked a bit about bats and how that's not really a pest. Can you kind of get into like what makes a pest,
Yep.
what people might consider a pest, and what that looks like in terms of treating that if you can?
So yeah, the most common non-insect type of pests that we're called for are rodents, like little mice, right? And we're only called if the mice are, dining in your kitchen, pooping in your drawers, like all that stuff, chewing your electrical wires, making holes in your house. So those are pest issues, right? So we have a rodenticide that we use for mice. Unfortunately, it does end with them passing away, but it does eliminate them from reproducing and continuing to damage your home. Bats, squirrels, you cannot poison, so you have to basically focus on exclusion. So you want to basically put in one-way doors. So once a squirrel, if it's in your attic, we can't kill a squirrel. They'll leave for food eventually, and once they do, if there's a one-way door, or if you've addressed the reason why they're getting in, if you have a hole in your soffit, maybe a bird's nest has been there in the past, something like that for them to get in, you want to make sure that you're excluding them from coming into your place. Same with bats. Bats are an endangered species, and actually we've all heard of guano. We've seen Jim Carrey's movies. Guano is a thing, and they actually can really contaminate all the insulation in your attic if you're not careful. So if you have a lot of bats and they're pooping nonstop, that's a hazardous poop that they're putting down there, and it actually requires the removal in some cases of all the insulation in your roof and your attic, and excluding them, right? Not killing them. But that's the only way to deal with bats properly. We don't specialize in wildlife. We don't specialize in bats, raccoons, skunks, all that stuff. That's for other folks to do. But the companies around town are very knowledgeable, and they'll be able to help with anything. We handle anything smaller than a mouse, and there are some companies that handle squirrels. And we've done live trapping for sure. Like we'll do favors for people. We've done pigeon work. We've done live trapping for squirrels for some good customers of ours. But it's not something that we specialize in.
Rats in town?
Well, we all maybe we don't all remember, but there was fair. There's very few rats, but they require they're very, very resistant to a lot of approaches. So you have to work on exclusion, but also there is a poisoning system for rats also, but because they're larger and they can tear apart a trap, so there's different sized items that you can use. So sometimes you'll be walking around like a bulk barn, and you'll see those kind of like those containers with like little holes in them. Those are for rat control mostly. There's not a lot of rats in North Bay. We've had not saying we get all the rat calls, but maybe 4 to 5 in our entire existence, and they're Norwegian rats is what we typically come across. We've only had a very few. Most times people will think it's a rat or it's a raccoon or something like that that's very big in their attic, but mice have very, very sharp nails, and the sound transfers very, very well, especially if they're crawling. You can hear them, and they sound like 10 times bigger than they are if they're in your wall or your attic. So 99% of the time, if they think it's a squirrel or a raccoon, it's actually a mouse.
Yeah, I have lots of mice. Every spring, every fall.
You know what?
It's a trap line in my house.
Yeah, exactly. Like everyone has their own threshold for what they consider a pest, right? I'm not here to encourage people to go ahead and use chemicals when they shouldn't, or whatever their comfort level is absolutely fine. But when they're interfering with your life or your enjoyment of your backyard or whatever it is, that's what pest control companies should be used for, not for suggesting services and trying to, unless it's a damaging thing, like proactive inspections is important. But if there's something bugging me, at the end of my yard, it's not a pest to me. It's not affecting my life.
No pun.
So that's maybe
buggy.
pun intended.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's an important distinction. We don't just show up and just kind of flame through everything. We are very, very exact with where we treat and how we treat.
I have gained clarity from this conversation. I feel comfort. I feel at peace. Sometimes you wish you could take a flamethrower to those things.
Yeah, no, totally. There's actually been stories of people burning, like causing a fire because heat is the answer, but they'll set up a propane heater in their house and burn their house down.
Yeah, don't do that.
No, don't do that. No, don't do that.
Call the professionals. So Geoff, thank you again.
You're welcome.
We appreciate you coming in here today. Change of season, so all good tips, important things to remember, and good luck out there.
Thank you very much. We really appreciate the support that North Bay has given us. Good Riddance Pest Control has been lucky enough to get a ton of calls, and we're very happy to help our customers out. Thanks for having me here.
Thanks for tuning in to the Echo Essentials podcast.
I'm Dave Dale.
And I'm Chris Pekarsky. Chris Pekarsky. Oh my gosh, I ruined it.
It didn't ruin it.
Let's try it
No,
again.
you made it special.
Oh, did I? I don't know.
No, you made it special. I
can't even get my own last
You
name
got to
right.
show him the bump on your head.
Who?
You got to show him the
I'm
bump.
not showing them the bump in my head.
Yeah, well, why do you got a toque on? This is supposed to be a professional podcast. How come you got a toque on? I never got to wear a toque.
Well, you could wear a toque.
I wanted
You've been
to.
here for longer than I have. You could absolutely afford a toque.
Show your forehead.
Oh, jeez. I'm not letting him have it. No, I'm getting a new take of this. Okay. Thank you for listening to the Echo Essentials podcast.
I'm Dave Dale.
And I'm Chris I quit. We're done.
Oh, we're keeping it. Right on. Thanks. And
Hey, awesome.
please comment and like and share.